Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us on this evening for the second in our series of Cosy Homes Oxfordshire webinars. I'll wait a couple of minutes for everyone to log in and join us. And in the meantime, you'll see the chat function at the bottom of your screen. And if you could drop a message in there telling us your name, and if you're here on behalf of an organisation or a community group, that would be great if you could just type that in. It's always really nice to know who's out there on the other side of the screen, and if it's anyone we've met before. So we can just look at the chat. So lots of people are just beginning to arrive at the moment. So I'll just wait one more moment for other people to join us, and then we can make a start. Robin from Low Carbon East Oxford, it's really, really nice to see you. And Megan, looking forward to retrofitting her new home. So that's really good. Yes. Well, I hope you still are by the end of the meeting, Megan. So that'll be a sign of a good meeting. And David Urin, a new Cosy Homes customer. Great. Oh, John Fawcett from Winning Moves. Yes, we've met before. Oh, it's really nice. So we've got quite a few old friends and some new ones, and people who are actually keen to retrofit their homes straight after the meeting. Okay, so I think there's quite a few people here now. So I think we'll make a start. So my name is Cathy Ryan, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the Low Carbon Hub. And you're joining us this evening for the second webinar in our Cosy Homes Oxfordshire webinar series that's taking place this autumn. And we're going to be focusing on all things retrofit and home energy efficiency and performance. So the webinar is planned as an introduction to Cosy Homes Oxfordshire, describing what the service is, how it's come about, and why we think it's the best way to retrofit your home to make it fit for the future. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Cosy Homes Oxfordshire, in a nutshell, it's a one-stop home retrofit service working to improve the energy efficiency and performance of homes across Oxfordshire. It's a partnership project between Retrofit Works, the National Energy Foundation, and the Low Carbon Hub, which is where I work. And as I've already mentioned, I'm the Community Engagement Manager, and we promote Cosy Homes Oxfordshire through our low carbon community groups. So tonight, we're starting off with a beginner's guide to Cosy Homes Oxfordshire, and we'll be led by my colleague, Geordie Stewart, who is our expert speaker for the evening. So hello to Geordie. And Geordie is the scheme manager at Cosy Homes Oxfordshire and knows pretty much all there is to know about the retrofitting process and the Cosy Homes service. Geordie has had a very interesting and varied career and has had a lot of experience in environmental projects in different countries in Africa and India. So we're really lucky to have him, I think, and to bring all that experience to bear on Cosy Homes Oxfordshire. So before I pass over to Geordie, there's a couple of practical points. So first of all, we'll be recording tonight's webinar and we'll circulate it to all attendees later this week. And it will also be available on the Cosy Homes Oxfordshire YouTube channel. Secondly, please do use the chat function during the webinar if you have any questions or just comments or anything you'd like us to know or ask. And we are going to be pausing a few times for questions during the webinar. And if we have time at the end of the webinar, we'll also have some more questions then. And if we do run out of time, we can save the chat and follow up directly so that nobody misses anything. So with that said, I'm going to pass over to you, Geordie, for tonight's webinar. Welcome, Geordie Stewart. Oh, I think you're muted, Geordie. So we'll just unmute. There we go.
Thanks very much, Cathy, and good evening, everybody. I'll just share my screen before I get started. Okay. Great. So I've actually got two presentations tonight. We'll pause in between and take some questions. And so the first one is an introduction to Cosy Homes, and just want to get rid of that. That's it. Okay. And the second is a little bit about the Green Homes Grant. There's quite a lot of information to get through. I'm sure there'll be lots of questions, so we'll pause at certain places for questions, and I'll try and make enough time for some Q&A at the end. So I'm going to cover sort of what Cosy Homes is, what it's about, some of the challenges we face, how we can help you with the process, a bit of detail about our approach and our whole house plan, a little bit about our COVID response, and some exciting things that are coming soon, and some ways that you could potentially help us. So Cosy Homes, what is it? As Cathy mentioned, it's a partnership. There's three main pillars of the partnership. We've got the National Energy Foundation, who mainly deal with the private rented sector. We've got the Low Carbon Hub, which is the umbrella group for, I think there's over 30 low carbon groups within Oxfordshire. And we sort of call them our advocates, and they help introduce yourselves, householders, to ourselves, Retrofit Works. Retrofit Works is a non-for-personal profit cooperative, been engaged in retrofitting people's homes for approximately 10 years. They're running schemes throughout the country, and other sort of the delivery partner for Cosy Homes Oxfordshire. So we aim to bring together sort of householders and contractors, and I'll explain the whole process just now. So some of our aims, it's really to sort of remove the stress from your home retrofit. We'll take care of everything for you from throughout the customer journey from start to finish. We hope to reduce your carbon emissions, lower your energy bills, and create a more comfortable and hopefully healthier home. In addition, we may be able to put up your, or the end result may be that your EPC rating goes up, which can additionally add value to your home potentially. We do that by supporting you and managing the process from start to finish. We create a robust long-term whole house plan. I'll give you the details of that shortly. And along the process, we will introduce you to trusted contractors to carry out the work. All the contractors that we work with are vetted by Retrofit Works and actually become part of the Retrofit Works cooperative as part of that vetting process. And along the way, we monitor and quality assure the whole retrofit process. So just a few of the challenges that we have. First of all, the sort of the legislation and the scale of the work ahead, just to give you an idea, and then a little bit about the complexity of our homes. So back in 2008, the government set a target that by 2050, we needed to reduce our UK carbon emissions by 80% based on the 1990 baseline. That legislation was then updated in 2019 that we then had to reduce our carbon account by 100% by 2050 based on the 1990 baseline. So we know that, or we expect that at least 80% of our current housing stock will still be standing and in use by 2050. So had we started in 2008, we would have needed to retrofit 20 million homes to achieve that 2008 target of, well, the 2050 target from 2008. So that would have been equivalent to 500,000 retrofits a year, or 10,000 a week, or 1 per minute. That's had we started in 2008. The current figures are that we've got closer to 24 million homes to do, and we've barely started. So that's just giving you a context of the scale of what needs to be done to meet those targets, just in the housing sector. So a little bit about this sort of the complexity of our homes. So our energy consumption is driven by a number of factors. We have the sort of the physics of the building itself, the built form, it's the bricks and mortar, how it behaves. We have the weather influencing our energy usage, and importantly, we've got user lifestyle, so how we use the homes. So you can see from this pie chart that the lion's share of our energy use is space heating our homes in the winter, followed by hot water, and then all the rest, the appliances, the cooking, the lighting, and all the other things and activities in a home are roughly 2 to 3% on average. So Retrofit works sort of using that same sort of breakdown of that pie chart. Retrofit works a few years back studied about 40 properties on one street in London, and they carried out a survey and did the analysis. So all those buildings looked identical. They're all built at the same time, and from the outside you'd expect that they would all perform in the same way. Each one of these pie charts represents each individual assessment, and you can see how the energy is divided varies. In every single property is different, and the size of the pie chart is the overall energy use. So it's why important that we need to look at every home individually. We can't just say all these homes will have the same problem and all these homes will need the same retrofit solution. We've changed our homes over the years. We've added extensions, we've changed the windows, we've changed the heating, so we need to look at them all individually. Another interesting thing we came across, just sort of to highlight this, is on an assessment I carried out just at the end of last year. The EPC rating, the EPC detail for this property stated that it had cavity wall and as built, and it was partly insulated, assumed, and it was given an energy efficiency sort of rating of 3 out of 5. It so happened that the neighbour was having some extension work done, and the cavity was open and visible. And in this particular property, from construction, the cavity was actually filled with rubble. So it really highlights the need for having a retrofit coordinator to assess your home individually and and produce a bespoke whole house plan, because we just don't know what we're going to find until we've been there. So a bit of detail about the client journey and our approach to a retrofit, and some of the trigger points about when and why you may retrofit. So the client journey starts with an online survey. So the advocate groups may direct you towards our website, and on the website you'll find a web form where you can fill in numerous details about your home and how you use it, and your aspirations, any problems you may have. You might have damp, condensation, you may be planning an extension. All those details you can fill in on that online survey, which will come to us. We'll then invite you to go through the process of having a whole house plan and a home assessment. We currently charge £175 for that process, which includes having a retrofit assessor coming to your home and measuring it up from top to bottom, taking lots of photographs, taking lots of details about your boiler, your windows, your insulation. All that information comes back to us, and we will appoint a retrofit coordinator to produce a whole house plan. That process involves using our in-house software, which will calculate the heat losses in every part of your home, from the floor, the walls, the windows, the roof, and we'll look at the heating system, the inefficiencies of the heating system, and we will produce a range of measures, a range of possibilities, the things that you could potentially do to improve your home. And the detail of that will come shortly. If you wish to proceed with all or some of the measures that we've outlined in the whole house plan, we would ask you to sign a client service agreement, and then we would go ahead and produce a building performance specification. This is a detailed technical document outlining exactly what needs to be done to achieve the retrofit to a quality standard. And that document is then circulated to our trusted contractors, who I've mentioned before, are cooperative members. And that's still a competitive tender, so we'll aim to get a number of quotes from a variety of contractors, and we will guide you through that process. We will give you technical assistance, and but ultimately it's your choice which contractors you wish to engage with, and the contract will be between you and those contractors. We will then oversee the retrofit process. We'll oversee the works. We'll carry out on-site meetings with the contractors and yourself, just to quality assure the work from start to finish. And we will also ask the contractors to document the process, so they will take regular photographs in between our visits and update us on the activities, so we can quality assure the whole process. Finally, we will the retrofit coordinator will visit the house and make sure that all the intended outcomes have been met, and we'll sign off and that work, and with the aim of lodging it with Trustmark as an approved retrofit. We will then follow up within 3 months, and just to make sure that your intended outcomes have been achieved. So the whole process, as I say, is quality assured and overseen by a retrofit coordinator. A little bit about our sort of ethos. We very much believe in a fabric first approach. That the number one aim is to reduce your heat losses and improve your air tightness. So we're very much about improving the insulation, making your home as warm and airtight and as possible, before we then assess whether you need a heating system upgrade. And we'll look at the viability of a non-fossil fuel heating system, so potentially a renewable heating system, if it's applicable for your property. A lot of people come to us and they're very keen. We want a heat pump, but if we just replace your gas or oil boiler with a heat pump, it'll be quite inefficient. It'll be working very hard, and you'll have very high electricity bills. So the approach is to very much reduce your heat losses, and then we can size up an appropriate heating system to that lower heat demand. And then finally, the sort of cherry on the cake is if applicable, we can look at other renewable technologies such as solar PV to reduce your energy bills even further. A little bit about the trigger points. There's all sorts of trigger points that you may, where it might be a good time to do a retrofit. Sometimes there's a new member of your family, and you're getting a room ready, so you might want to get that particular room ready for a new baby, or you may have an elderly family member that's moving in with you. You might want to prepare a room or a section of the house for that. You might have your children moving out, and you're reconfiguring the house. You may be doing a conversion or an extension. A great time is actually when you're about to move into a new home, because the home is sort of a blank canvas. You haven't got all your things in there, and it's a great time, if planned well, to get your retrofit done. So I'm just going to talk you through a little bit about sort of our whole house plan and what it looks like and what you'd expect to get from your whole house plan. So this is just a few excerpts from a typical whole house plan. So we've got the sort of data competence. So if we've been to the property, that would be a competence of 10 because we know we've collected all that information. If we've not been to the property, that would be a lower competence. But we always aim, if possible, to go to the property. The next bit is your current energy rating as per your EPC rating, and the higher the number, the better. And sort of A is what you're aiming for in terms of the letter afterwards. This is your estimated fuel bills. No, we estimate it based on the property itself, not how you use it. We go into some homes and people only put their thermostat on to 16 degrees and they don't turn it on till December. We go into other homes, they've got it at 24 degrees year round, for maybe they've got underlying health conditions or something, and they need to have their home warm. So everybody's different, everybody uses it differently. So we model it using standard assumptions, on UK standard assumptions. And here on the right, we've got your, based on that, we've got your estimated carbon emissions. So this particular home, we've got sort of heating inefficiencies here on the left. So we've got a fairly inefficient boiler there. It's quite, it's using a lot of energy there. So it must be an old boiler. The roof losses aren't too bad here. Got huge losses from the walls, a little bit from the floors, reasonable amount from the windows there. Drafts. We've got hot water and lights. The same information here, just sort of split up, what you're spending your bills on and where the carbon is the carbon mix of your energy bill. So here we look at what is possible to achieve. So in this particular house, we're able to increase the energy rating from a 43 to a 86, reduce the bills quite dramatically down to £420, and the carbon from 8 to 1. And we've got the grey is the what it was before, and the blue is what is the potential. So we've removed the heating efficiencies completely. That's in this case by installing an air source heat pump. We've insulated the walls and got the wall losses down massively, and et cetera along here. And this is just a summary of those things. So we've packaged this one into 3 phases. So it's draft proofing, roof insulation for the first phase, internal wall insulation, windows, doors, ventilation for the second phase, air source heat pump and solar PV on the third phase. And you can see how the different phases affect both your energy bills in blue, and the black line is your emissions going down here. The residual carbon that's left, the 1.6 tons that we are not able to get rid of, we just show you that potentially you could plant 70 trees that would offset that 1.6 tons of carbon. Retrofitting is sort of a law of diminishing returns. It's the first measures normally have the most impact, and then you need to spend increasingly more money to get your carbon completely down to zero. So we sort of need to take a sensible approach about it. This is just a very quickly, I'm not going to go into the detail of this, but this is just a little extract from a building performance specification. So after your whole house plan, if you wanted to go ahead, this is just a page from the building performance specification, some of the sort of detailing and specification that we put together to send to the contractors for quoting. So detailing how the installation should be laid out in this particular case. So I'll pause there just to see if there's any questions so far.
Yes, Geordie, we've got a couple of questions in the chat, and first one is a very good question. It's how long does each step of the client journey take?
Okay, yep, good question. So from signing up, we will respond to you within 2 days, asking you to inviting you to pay for the whole house plan. We then, once you've paid, it's about allocating an assessor, and it's one is the availability of our assessors, and then it's your availability. So we've got to match those two. So we normally get the assessor to get in touch with you directly, and find a convenient time for them to come to your home. So that we aim for 2 weeks for that first stage. It's sometimes 3. It really depends on both their and your availability. The next stage, once we've got that information, is to produce the whole house plan itself. Again, it will vary on the workload of the retrofit coordinators. We currently have 9 retrofit coordinators working on the scheme, and our aim is within 2 weeks, and it sometimes can take longer depending on their workload. So the aim for that part, to produce a whole house plan, we would ideally have that within 4 weeks.
Oh, great, thanks. And then we've got 2 questions about energy bills, really. So the first one is, what do you think is the typical error in your fuel bill calculation? Which I'm wondering if that's referring to the whole house plan that you showed in the example.
Error. I'm not sure if I understand the question.
No, perhaps Daniel, could you maybe type in chat a little bit of detail about what you mean there? And while you do that, we'll just move on to the next question, which is, how do you account for actual energy bills, associated carbon, and potential for actual savings?
So yeah, I mean, we as I said before, you know, you may find, so we've got here, like, UK average is £1,184. Okay, so that's from Ofgem. In this particular case, we've estimated, based on the inefficiencies of this home, based on if you were to heat your living room to 21 degrees, and if you were to heat your bedrooms to 18 degrees, and use your house as per the sort of standard methodology that's used throughout the UK, your bills would be 1,960. So it may be you use your home in a completely different way, and so this is just a guide. You know, this is just a guide for how you use your home. So if whatever retrofit measures we would you did, it would bring down whatever your bills were proportionally. So if your bills were actually much higher than that, it may not bring them down to £420, because you're heating the home a lot more than average. In the same way, if you're not really heating your room, if you're just wearing lots and lots of jumpers and heating one room at a time, your bills maybe half that to begin with. So you're not going to get the same level of savings. So we have to model the home itself, because you may move on, somebody else moves in, and we're basing this on the sort of the fabric of the building itself, not how you're using it. So that there's lots of ways how you use your home that you can improve. Now that's how the advocate groups are fantastic at this sort of work, informing people, helping people, with the thermostat settings, helping people with sort of small measures that they can do themselves, and lifestyle changes. But our focus is really about sort of the more sort of deeper retrofits, trying to sort of improve the housing stock on a larger scale.
Okay, thanks, Geordie. And we have 2 questions, which I think it might be better to leave till the next section of the talk, which are about retrofit works, charges, and how does Cosy Homes meet its own costs. So I think it's probably a good idea to leave those. Okay. I can answer them at the end. There's no problem. Yeah. Okay. So shall we return to the presentation? Sure. So and just very briefly, I just wanted to touch on how we've responded to COVID. Initially, basically, we had to call a halt to our in-house home assessments and all sort of activity within people's homes, but we very soon put together a very sort of robust
sort of risk assessment and method statement about how we could proceed. We basically set up a triage system where we could do a risk assessment and of people's homes. So we will look at, we'll send a questionnaire asking about your sort of age bracket and your health bracket according to NHS risk. And based on that, on that triage, we will see whether it's possible to proceed with an on-site assessment if you know the current the guidelines of the day allow that. The government guidelines of the day allow that. So at the moment, as it stands today, we can still go into people's homes. That may change if there's sort of an increased lockdown. But as it stands, we can go into people's homes. We ask people to open their windows 20 minutes in advance of the visit. We're fully wearing PPE. We ask people to leave all the doors open so we're not having to touch anything. Anything we have touched, we'll wipe down with antiseptic wipes, and we maintain a sort of the 2 meter distance within the home and everything like that. So some people, it's either they're just not comfortable or they score too highly, too higher risk, and we can offer a remote assessment. So back to the whole house plan, we would give that a confidence of 6 out of 10 because we haven't been to the property, but we as long as we can get a floor plan, and we ask you to send a number of photographs, and then we'll have up to 1 hour sort of phone interview to get all the details we need, and we'll do sort of a short version of the whole house plan, a sort of to sort of get get the process moving, give you some ideas about the potential. And if you wish to proceed, depending on the measures, we probably will have to follow up with an on-site visit, but we take that case by case. Okay, so that's just on our sort of COVID response, and we've had very good, we've done quite a number of remote surveys, but also equally we're continuing to do quite a lot of on-site surveys. So I'm just going to briefly touch on an exciting new development, which is our Plan Builder app. So this is something we're trialling on our sister schemes in London and Sussex. And basically, it's a free online app where you can basically, you put in your postcode, and you'll be asked what your priority is whether you want to cut your carbon emissions, reduce your energy bills, or both. It will ask you what your budget is, and we have in our database basically every property in Oxfordshire is on the database, and the sort of confidence level will depend if that property's had an EPC in the last 10 years or whether we visited the property, and we've sort of extrapolated that data. And so this is just sort of a little screenshot from there. So each of these tiles will give you some information about the cost of the retrofit measure, the savings it can help with in terms of carbon savings. You can play around. You can add. I think this particular one, there's 26 possible measures, and you can click to sort of add them or remove them from your plan. Your estimated fuel bills will go up and down according to what you've clicked, and if you click on one of the tiles, it will give you more information about each individual measure. So this one's about internal wall insulation, and ultimately you can, once you've had a look around, you can submit the plan, and that will come to us, and then we can sort of take your retrofit journey forward. But because the great thing is it really gives you an idea of what each of the measures will do in terms of fuel bill and carbon savings, and ultimately what it will cost. So if it's up front, without even getting in touch with us, what to expect to pay for these measures. So it can really inform you in advance, what's possible and what it will cost. So we're quite excited about that. It will be launched very, very soon. It's it's actually all the testing has gone very, very well in the other schemes, so we'll be announcing that launch very soon. Finally, just want to sort of touch on ways you can potentially help us at Cosy Homes. So if you've engaged with, if you've had some building work done or on your home, we're always seeking new installers, contractors, energy assessors, architects, designers, project managers, anything to do with retrofit. Basically, in terms of the delivery side, we're always seeking new people to join our cooperative membership. And the best sort of recommendation is through experience, through people's personal experience. So please do get in touch if you've got some contractors or any of these specialists that you think may be able to become a valuable part of our team. And that's it for my first part. Thank you very much. I'll just put up my details there, and happy to answer any more questions before we go on to the Green Homes Grant.
Okay, well, thanks so much, Geordie. That's a lot of information there. And we've got a couple of questions really mostly about costs and things. So the first one is, what are the retrofit works charges over and above contractor costs?
Yep. So so basically, there's three sort of key stages of the client journey. So the first one I've sort of outlined in most detail, and that is the whole house plan. So your home assessment and whole house plan, which is currently £175. That fee literally covers the costs of our retrofit coordinators, and that gets you to that stage. If you want to stop there, you can stop there. It's really just that is a guide to give you all the information you need to make a decision about whether you want to sort of go ahead with your retrofit journey. It may be that the first version of the whole house plan, we would normally include sort of lots of things, and just to show you the potential. And we will follow up with a 30-minute phone call, and during that discussion, your retrofit coordinator will discuss with you the things that you'd potentially like to do, like in phase one. So we might move all the phases around and say, okay, I'm ready this year to do this, but actually budget doesn't allow, or that's ripping up my floor at the moment is not. I've just had a new baby. It's not going to happen, but I may be interested in doing that in the future. So we can move some things to a later phase. And so say in your revised whole house plan, you may have 5 measures that you've agreed to go ahead with. We would then draw up the client service agreement, and in that we will outline the costs of the next stage, which is producing your building performance specification. So that's sort of a detailed technical document. So in this case, it would include those 5 measures. It may necessitate some architectural drawings, or it may be that we have they're not necessary, that we have them sort of already in our sort of in our library, but it will involve a considerable amount of time for our retrofit coordinator to put that specification together. So the cost of that is directly related to the time that the coordinator will need to spend producing that document. So the client service agreement will tell you, so it's not a fixed fee, it's basically based on the time that the coordinator spends on that, which is again based on the number of measures or the complexity of the measures that are included in that plan. So that also will include the time. So basically that building performance specification will be sent out to contractors, and that whole sort of tender process. So if there's 5 measures, we may be sending it out to a sole contract, we may be sending it out to 5 individual contractors. It depends on those measures. And that whole tender process of sending the document out, reviewing for quotes, reviewing all the quotes, putting them together, and then discussing them with the client, with yourselves, that sort of process is all included in that client service agreement fee, which is bespoke. It's hard to say, what that fee will be. It could be £200, it could be £1,000. It really depends on the complexity and of your retrofit. But you're under no obligation to sign that. We will send that to you. We will outline the fees. If you wish to proceed, we ask that you pay that up front, and that basically literally just covers the costs of that next stage of the client journey. So once you have got, and we'll send that building performance specification to you before sending it to the contractors, so that you can review it and make sure it meets your expectations before we send it to the contractors. So that's basically stage 2 of the process. And you again, once you've got your building performance specification, once you've got all your quotes from your contractors, if you wish, we could stop there. You may say, actually, circumstances have changed, or it's not what I was expecting, or whatever reason, you're perfectly at liberty to stop there. You're not committing to actually carry out any works at that point. If you hopefully do want to continue and actually get the measures installed, it's at that point that you will sign contracts directly with the builders, the contractors. So we facilitate that for you, but the contract is directly with them. So you will, the payment terms with them will be according to the individual contractors. If it's depending, if it's something like windows, often they'll need a deposit up front, although we discourage deposits unless it's something like that, where it's, if you're having bespoke windows made, it's usual practice to have a deposit. So the next stage of the journey is basically for your retrofit coordinator to oversee the actual construction works, the on-site works. It's the quality assurance, it's the on-site visits, it's making sure that they are meeting the outcomes, the expectations. We carry out toolbox talks with the contractors. A classic example, it wasn't a retrofit works project, but it was a house that we were carrying out an air tightness test when I was wearing my sustainable childbearing hat, and we found a property where they'd had a beautiful new flat roof installed by a roofing contractor, and the next day the electricians came and put beautiful new downlights into the ceiling of that roof. And when we carried out the air tightness test, it was blowing a gale through those downlights, because the electrician had drilled through the membrane and through the insulation. So we would aim to foresee such issues and design them out, and make sure that we've talked both to the roofing company and the electrical company to make sure that they both understand the intended outcomes, and those sort of things don't happen. So it's kind of one of the roles of the coordinator, is to be there, on your behalf, to make sure things like that don't happen, and that everybody's working, all the contractors are working towards the common goal of improving the energy efficiency of the home. So that. Sorry, I'm talking. If I'm talking too much, but
that's a fantastically comprehensive answer, really, and you've actually incorporated several of the other questions that were lined up as well. So that's really good. So I think just keeping an eye on time, I think maybe this might be a good point to move on to the next section. Because
yeah. So Cathy, I'm not sure if I mentioned that for that next stage of the journey, we charge 5% of the project value. So whatever the value of the actual installed works are, for that, to have the retrofit coordinator to be there for you throughout that process, and to sign it off, and to lodge it with Trustmark, that whole quality assurance there we only charge 5% of the project value. So that's basically the third payment, basically. So you've got your whole house plan, you've got your building performance specification and tender process, and then there's the fee on the end. So they're the 3 times where we would invoice, just to make that clear.
Yes. Oh, thanks very much indeed. Okay. So shall we move on to the green grant section, and then hopefully we can go back to some of the questions at the end. That's okay.
Certainly. Yeah. Right. So the Green Homes Grant, I'm sure many of you have read about it, are quite excited about it. We're also excited about it. It's not all the information is fully publicly available yet. So we work very closely with Bayes. We work very closely with Trustmark, and we are our Retrofit Works are in weekly meetings on this subject. So we're normally first to find out, but ultimately decisions are being made by the the politicians, and that the details are still coming out. So what I'm about to tell you is what we know today. It may be different tomorrow. So I'm just sort of forewarning you. This is what we know so far, and this is potentially how we can integrate it into our Cosy Homes model. So I'll go through the what the grant is, who can apply for it, what the criteria is, and how it can hopefully fit in with our model. So sorry, just gonna have a drink. So some of the key things to understand is the grant is it's all about home energy saving improvements, but importantly they must be completed by a Trustmark registered business, and that's one of the key criteria, one of 2 criteria that are to able to claim the voucher. It must be from a Trustmark registered business. Retrofit Works is actually an approved scheme provider for Trustmark, so all our cooperative members are easily able to convert their membership into Trustmark membership, because our onboarding process is already it's quite a rigorous vetting process, and that membership can easily be converted. So that's good news. So the vouchers that can be issued are worth up to 2/3 of the cost of upgrading the energy efficiency of your home, with a maximum of £5,000, or for those on lower incomes or claiming various income supports, potentially 100% grant of up to £10,000. So, for example, if you were carrying out £7,500 worth of retrofit works or home improvement works, the government would pay £5,000 and you would pay £2,500. So the scheme is due to start at the end of this month, and will close at the end of March next year. And importantly, as it stands, the actual retrofit, the measures need to be installed by March 2021 as well. So it's not just having the voucher; it's actually completing the installation. So there's a 6-month window as it stands. And importantly, you can't use the voucher to pay for works that have already been carried out. So it can't be retrospective. So there's primary and secondary measures that are that you can apply for, and the primary measures are about insulation and low carbon heat. And so the insulation can be solid wall insulation, cavity wall insulation, underfloor roof insulation, including lofts, flat roofs, and room and roofs. So pretty much all insulation is covered in the primary measures. Again, it's all about reducing those heat losses, and additionally low carbon heat. So air source and ground source heat pumps, biomass boilers, and solar thermal. Importantly, not solar PV. That's not included in this scheme at all. So you can top up. So you can top up your loft insulation. You can top up, add to solid wall insulation, but not replace it. So it's not replacing something. It's only topping it up or adding something new. So as per the Renewable Heat Initiative, to qualify for low carbon heating, there's a prerequisite that you have adequate insulation. So that's normally sort of potentially loft or cavity wall insulation. Again, minimising heat losses before specifying the heating system. Secondary measures, so providing there's at least one primary measure, you can also apply for secondary measures, and those secondary measures include draft proofing, single glazing, double glazing, triple glazing, secondary glazing, upgrading doors to energy efficient replacements, hot water tank insulation, and a whole range of heating controls. So to claim for secondary measures, basically you can't claim for secondary measures for a higher value of the primary measures. So if you can only receive £1,000 of secondary measures if you've got £1,000 of primary measures. Some other rules for the Green Homes Grant. There's certain installations which are higher risk have to be adhered to past 2035. I'll come on to that shortly. So these include high-rise buildings, traditionally constructed and protected buildings. It's mainly sort of solid wall buildings, so it could be internal wall insulation and also actually low carbon heating. So past 2035 is the new standard that drives the whole house approach, including the fabric first methodology and the inclusion of the role of the retrofit coordinator. And that's entirely what our Cosy Homes scheme is built around. It's built around that standard. So you're very much in good hands with this approach. So if you choose to go ahead, we can guide you through the whole process of the home retrofit, including when and how to apply for your Green Homes Grant voucher. I say that as we can help you as much as the information that we have at the time. It's still not known who will be issuing the vouchers as we stand today, it's still not entirely clear if you can get multiple vouchers or whether you can only get one voucher per household. There's some important detail that is still not hasn't been shared, but we'll be the first to know, so we'll be able to inform you as soon as we can. Just before I go into questions, we've on the Green Homes Grant. Retrofit Works has had hundreds and hundreds of phone calls since it's been announced, and there's a lot of people that are coming to us purely to claim the grant. It's like, there's £5,000 to claim. I don't really know what I want. I just want to claim the £5,000. I want a quote today. I'm not really sure if I care what it is. And we're being quite frank. We're not going to deviate from our whole house sort of long-term approach. There'll be companies that will set up, and there'll be a race to the bottom. People trying to convince you that you need to install this or do this without looking at the home holistically. So we will integrate the whole house plan. We'll integrate the Green Homes Grant into our whole house methodology if it's appropriate. But our whole ethos is built around the whole house approach, so we won't deviate from that. But hopefully we can integrate it into. Sorry, I'm getting a very dry throat, but any questions, please, on the Green Homes Grant?
So well, I'm just going to say we've got about, thanks so much, Geordie, for that really, really detailed, comprehensive and really informative presentation. So I hope all our participants feel like they've enhanced their understanding of Cosy Homes Oxfordshire, and I certainly have. And I think we've got literally about 4 minutes left for questions. So there's a couple in chat, but if there's anything you'd like to ask now, please do type them into chat. So has a question on the Green Homes Grant is, as far as you know, can you claim the Green Home Grant for your own home and for a home you rent out as well?
So it's definitely open to landlords. Good question. If you're if you're trying to claim it twice, if we can get the details, we can maybe get back to you on that. But basically, I mean, I guess the question is it per person or per property? I'm not entirely sure, but we can certainly look into that and get back to you. And it definitely is open to landlords and landladies.
Okay, so thanks, Geordie. And then one quite specific question. This is on the BPS. Does the BPS include an analysis of condensation risk in the wall, roof or floor insulation?
So actually something I didn't and I should really have talked about more is the sort of ventilation strategy. So as we improve the air tightness, improve the insulation, more and more the ventilation strategy is crucial. And we have some very experienced technical people amongst us in retrofit works, and actually attended a webinar just 2 days ago on that whole subject. And so absolutely ventilation, condensation, air quality is really high on our list of priorities, and it will be in every we won't install measures without taking that into consideration, and it's a hard thing to explain to people. People say, well, you've made our home really airtight, why do you want to put holes in it? And it's all about the exchange of removing moist, stale air and introducing sort of fresh, clean air. And it's yes. The answer is yes, we do. 100%.
Great, thank you. And I'm just going to, so I think we're about to run out of time really. There's several messages saying what a great presentation, Geordie, and thank you very much for such clear information. So that's really nice to know. And if there are any other questions and responses, we'll try and follow up with the YouTube recording, either directly or on that. So that's pretty much all we have time for tonight. But before we sign off altogether, just a quick reminder, this is the second in our series of Cosy Home Oxfordshire webinars, and we have 2 more to come, which are fortnightly on Tuesdays. So in 2 weeks, on the 6th of October, we have Natasha Ginks, a qualified retrofit coordinator, explaining all you need to know about air source heat pumps. And on the 20th of October, we'll have the insulation process explained by architect Paola Sassi. So you can find all the information and registration links for these on the Cosy Homes website, which is cosyhomesoxfordshire.org. Click on events in the main navigation tab. Otherwise, it just remains for me to say a huge thank you to Geordie for joining us tonight and sharing his extensive knowledge and expertise with us all so patiently. And a big thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. That's it for tonight, and thank you for your very thoughtful and perceptive questions, and for coming, and hopefully we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at the next one. So thanks very much indeed, everybody, and we're now efficiently out of time.
Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you attending.
There's lots of very nice messages, Geordie, saying thank you and looking forward to the next stage of the project. Great presentation, thank you. And thank you, Cathy. So that's very kind. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.